Hello and welcome. My name is Brian Caplen, editor of The Banker, and I'm here to tell you about the latest edition of How to Run a Bank. This is the management guide that The Banker has been producing for the past 5 years. This year's How to Run a Bank focuses on leadership. I think everyone in the industry agrees that the financial crisis showed up deficits in the quality of banking leadership in some of the world's major banks. There is also broad agreement that unless the banks take serious measures to put things right, the public's trust in banks may never fully recover. In How to Run a Bank 2013, we look at how banks can improve their corporate governance, as well as the efforts on the regulatory front that are being taken to make the financial system safer as a whole. For some time now, bankers have been complaining about the burden of all the new regulations. In How to Run a Bank, we consider the upside, that is, the opportunities arising from the new regulations to change business models and to operate more efficiently in future. It's not only banks that are impacted. New regulations are forcing banks to transfer risk from their balance sheets. This has clear implications for financial liquidity, but it also opens up new prospects for non-bank financial institutions such as insurance companies and funds, as well as service providers such as alternative trading platforms, clearing houses and swap execution facilities. How to Run a Bank 2013 looks in detail at the new business areas opening up from these changes. Douglas Flint, Group Chairman of HSBC Holdings, begins this year's How to Run a Bank with the warning that the financial sector has a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to address anomalies in the financial system. He's particularly concerned with multiple and conflicting policy objectives, but he also argues that as long as banks can remain useful to society and play a role in creating economic growth, they do have a strong future. SUMA CHAKRABARTI, who is president of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, looks at the opportunities in the southern and eastern Mediterranean following the Arab Spring. Drawing on the EBRD's experiences in Eastern Europe, SUMA looks at ways to get credit to small and medium-sized enterprises that will fuel economic growth and stability in the region. With the growing presence of Chinese banks in the global economy, this year we also have articles from the chairman of 2 Chinese banks. Wang Hongzhang, who's chairman of China Construction Bank, details the profound changes interest rate liberalization will have on China's banking system. He draws on lessons learned from US deregulation in the 1970s. Meanwhile, China Minsheng's chairman, Dong Wenbao, outlines the changing financial services model of Chinese commercial banks and his hopes for China's growing small and mid-sized companies. Then we have LORENZO SMAGHI, a former member of the European Central Bank's Executive Board, who thinks there are reasons to believe Europe's bankers can sleep a little bit more easily in 2013. This is in spite of the list of remaining challenges they face, including the deleveraging of Europe's banking system and its knock-on effects. As in previous editions of How to Run a Bank, one of the largest sections in this year's publication is on regulation. This year's chapter has the upbeat title, Winning Under New Rules. Karel Lanoux, who is Chief Executive of the Centre for European Policy Studies, explains what a European banking union will mean for banks and what it might achieve. He also lists what remains to be done in terms of deposit protection insurance, bank liquidation and supervision. How to Run a Bank has always taken a keen interest in how technology is changing financial services. This year we look at the future of money, its digitization in both the retail and wholesale spaces, the potential for social media to guide trading and investment decisions, new payment card technology, and the adoption of mobile phone banking in Africa. We take a close look at derivatives clearing with an update of recent structural changes in the derivative markets written by Michael BODSON, who's President and CEO of the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation. We look at steps banks can take to avoid a collateral crunch. How to Run a Bank also documents the work being done to tackle corporate governance, human resources and ethical issues that have arisen in the wake of the financial crisis. This year we explore the growing need for professional board members and we look at banks' poor record on internal communications. We ask what can be learned from Islamic banks, the success of microfinance in Brazil and at programs designed to promote women entrepreneurs in Turkey. Finally, How to Run a Bank looks at the growing mainstream interest in sustainability and the problems banks face in reporting on sustainability. I'm sure you'll agree this is a bumper edition of How to Run a Bank and a guide to all things important in banks and bank management that should definitely not be missed. So to order your copy, go to the How to Run a Bank tab on thebanker.com and have an enjoyable read.